Fam, what's up? Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Hope you're having a great Friday. I know a lot of people are at home as it's Veterans Day. Special thanks to those that have served in the past, the present. We really appreciate you guys for what you do for this great country. My name is Kyle Henderson of Bama Football on YouTube. Today I got Coach Sean with me. Coach Sean, what's up, man? Welcome on in, man. I appreciate you joining me this morning.
What's up, brother? How you guys doing? Roll Tide to everyone. Doing great, man. Can't complain. Nobody when we listen anyway.
Right? Yeah. So, look, let's get into it. Coach Saban is about to go on a run. We all know this, the transformation of this team from the early part of the season to this season. I mean, what he's doing is clearly an incredible coaching job. And you've seen kind of the transformation. We've talked about that throughout this season. What's your take on this job overall by Coach Saban? You start to look at, Rat Poison Awards and this and that. But overall, from a coach's standpoint, I mean, what he's done has really been remarkable this year.
I think the job Coach Saban did this year with this team may possibly, arguably, be his best coaching job in recent memory, as far as like talent, as opposed to record of football team and success of football team.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we've not reached our goals with more talented teams. So for this team to be 8-1 right now, to be undefeated in the SEC play, I think that's an outstanding job by Coach Saban. But it also says that maybe he did hire the right coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember when it was announced of Kevin Steele and announced of Tommy Rees, we all was like, what? Scratching our head like, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So for Kevin Steele to come in and make this defense respectable, more than respectable, to make this defense one of the better ones we've had in recent memory, and for the offense just to be sort of clicking at the right time, I think it does say it speaks volumes to what Coach Saban has done, his hires, his coaching decisions, and that the old man still got it.
Here with Coach Sean. My name is Kyle Henderson. Thanks for the super chat, William. Let's look at Alabama's resume as we go through. And again, appreciate the super chat, man. Bama's resume through 9 games of this season, really impressive, as Alabama has won 7 games in a row. Coach, what stands out about that 7-game win streak in particularly?
Man, just the highs and lows of it. The highs and lows of it for me, man. To be undefeated in SEC play and a 7-game win streak all together, it really shows you that this team has learned, has fought through adversity, has really. And you know what? Now I really believe that Texas game was a godsend, because having a competitive game like that from a great team early in the season at Bryant-Denny with this new quarterback, with these new coordinators, how would everyone react? I think that game really, really showed us and set the bar for the level of play that we would need week to week to be successful. So I see, for a 7-game win streak at this stage, considering how last year went, how the year before went, it makes me elated, man. I'm ecstatic to see it. And again, it just shows you that Coach Saban still knows what he's doing.
I think when you look to Coach Saban and this job, the great thing about it is everybody was freaking out. Everybody was on high anxiety. Everybody was ready to get another coach. Everybody was ready to go into the transfer portal for another coach. But Coach Saban stayed consistent, right? And that was really amazing to see him at this level, because there was a lot of things that were going wrong that just weren't working. I mean, just recently during Wednesday's press conference, he was asked, why aren't these opening drives working out? And he's like, same reason things just don't work out. Sometimes you have to change things. Sometimes you have to evolve. And I think it's really been amazing to see him kind of stay stoic, stay the process of his own, philosophy of staying in the moment, game by game mentality, and not looking too far down the road or what's going on, here in the present, when things might not be exactly perfect. And when you look to this resume that we brought up for Alabama, is now we start to look at playoffs and talk about all the things that are going on with Alabama. They're 6-0 in SEC play, which is really amazing. And another amazing fact is the fact that they haven't even clinched the SEC West because you have Ole Miss, who is doing a fantastic job. They're a one-loss team. Their only loss comes to Alabama. They're taking on Georgia this week. But to be 6-0 in SEC play, there were so many people that were ready to write this team off, Coach. And in the most challenging conference, and I have here listed, they've beaten number 10 Ole Miss, number 14 Tennessee, number 19 LSU, and their loss is to number 7 Texas. Their schedule of strength by Power Guru is number 2 in the entire country. Talk about 6-0 in SEC play, and their 3 key wins and that key loss to Texas. I guess you could even throw in that. I love that road win against Texas A&M too. That was a gritty win.
Yes, it was. And I said, when on the coaches show, me and the guys all get together, and we said that I think this was right after maybe Arkansas, maybe. It might have been before Arkansas. But we all got together and said, this next grid of games, this next slate of games, which at that time it was Tennessee, LSU, Arkansas. Yeah, it was before Arkansas, Arkansas and Texas A&M. We said this will define how our team is. This will be the definition and the defining moment of how this Alabama team will be remembered. So for us to go into Texas A&M on the road and in front of an ecstatic, extremely hostile crowd, and win the way we did, that really, really, really gave me some, it gave me some jubilation. It gave me some jubilation as far as how good we could possibly be, how good we had the potential to be. We had our ups and downs, and even now, we still. I said on one show we have a Jekyll and Hyde mentality. Before the LSU game, it's like our offense. The only thing they were consistent in is being inconsistent. So to come out against LSU and have a game like that, and it really shows you to get through Ole Miss, to get through Tennessee, to get through LSU, to get through all these games back to back, and to see where Ole Miss is ranked. Tennessee still ranked, LSU still ranked. To get through these games, it really lets you know this team is on the up and up. I just want to see us continue to enjoy the process and get better as a football team, because we won't face another team on our schedule that has the athletes to beat us if we play our game until the end of the season and we make it to where we want to go, right? That's the good and that's the bad news. So we just got to take care of our business, continue to do the things we've been doing. Don't let the Jekyll and Hyde come back, stay consistent. And I think we'll be just fine. I'm totally impressed with this football team.
When you look at Alabama's resume, and thank you very much for joining us, Coach Saban, we feel, is about to go on a run, and I'll show you kind of the sophomores and ask Coach Sean before the show, research the sophomores on this team because it's really impressive, and we'll get to that in just a second because it's really remarkable to see the sophomores that are contributing on this year's team, whether they're a redshirt sophomore or a natural sophomore. Points per game, I bring that up because I think the playoff committee, they want style points. And I say that because they point to Florida State scoring 40 points a game and allowing 17 points a game. So you look at Alabama, points per game, 31, points allowed per game, 17. You look at the wins against Ole Miss, Tennessee, and LSU. And while the overall score might not necessarily stand out to you against those games, you look at this style point and the way that Alabama was able to control those games in the second half. There's some crazy stat floating around. I think it's 82-10 or something like that Alabama's been able to make second half adjustments. And that's part of a 60-minute football team when the coaches are able to go into the halftime break and are able to be like, okay, let's put everything out there. What is this team doing? What do we need to do to counter that? And how can we flank that to come out in this next half and dominate? And Alabama's defense has really been able to dominate. And we saw some, and I think over the course of the last couple of weeks, honestly, when Alabama comes out in that second half and they're able to put points on the board, like the touchdown that they were able to put together against Tennessee right away. Like you come out and you're able to hit people in the mouth. They've been able to make some really good adjustments on both sides of the ball. So when you look to style points, they come in several different ways, but Alabama's second half play, let's talk about that, Coach.
For me, this team has been better in the second half. I read something on Twitter today that was saying the same thing you just said. And if I take good and bad from it. I'm a pessimist by nature, man. I got a whole saying, the truth is in the details.
Yep.
And for me, if I'm comparing us to the past, The fact that we can go in at halftime and make competent adjustments and come out and dominate the way we have is always a plus.
Hmm.
That'll always help us in games that don't start off right. The fact that we do have coordinators that, especially defensively, that can go in, change things up, come out and dominate a team like LSU on offense. That's the best offense we'll face for the rest of the season until we get into conference championship type games and playoff type games. So to have coaches that make those type of adjustments is extremely important, man, and actually a much better look than we've had in the last couple of years.
Hmm.
The only part that I take from that is I don't get super elated about that as far as in the grand scheme of things, because while yes, we have dominated the second half, but we also have been outscored 65-44 in the first half,
Hmm.
and against better competition.
Hmm.
That's that'll catch up with us. That'll
Hmm.
catch up with us. What do you do when you play a team? I'm skipping far ahead right here, but hypothetically, if we play Georgia, what do you do when you play a team who stops Jalen from running? What do
Hmm.
you do when you play a team who stops the run? You
Hmm.
have to be a well-rounded team, and you can't get behind great teams. And so I enjoy the second half thing. I hope we continue to make those adjustments. We'll need them. And but I would love to see us have a more consistent entire game like we did LSU from whistle to whistle.
And I think that's why it's so important this coming weekend. And someone just pointed out inside the comment box, Alabama needs to have another consistent performance
Hmm.
against Kentucky, and I'm going to tell you why.
Exactly.
The athletic director for Kentucky is the lone SEC rep who is on the playoff committee, and he will have a front row seat at this game to watch Alabama and this new transformed Alabama team firsthand. He's already seen Georgia, now get a chance to see this Alabama team. So when you go into this game against Kentucky, that's what's on the line as well, is you have a chance for style points. And I know Coach Saban is a one game mindset, but also he understands because of last year that Alabama was let out of the playoffs because of the two games that they lost. Now is the time that Coach Saban, in my opinion, needs to start talking about scheduler strength, needs to start
Hmm.
talking about what this team has done in the back end. And I think a great question for Coach Saban is on Monday is talk about your scheduler strength, coach, because I think it starts to that needs to be amplified throughout college football. Scheduler strength, they have the number 2 scheduler strength according to Power Guru, and this is a great opportunity for Alabama to show the 80 from Kentucky. Look, we are a complete team from top to bottom, offense,
Hmm.
defense, special teams. This is a top 4 team. This is a playoff type team. This is a team that you want to move up in your rankings. I know when we look to all the teams, and I'll bring it up in a second, that are playing on the road, everybody on the road, well, the top 8 teams overall, they're all favorites this weekend. In fact, I'll bring that up right now because it's a good graphic to kind of look at when you go into this next week of college football. And I think that when you have Alabama's overall ability to show that they can play 4 quarters of football, it's really important to do that right now. You can't come out against Kentucky and you can't be down 10-7 at halftime or something like Ohio State was trailing Rutgers. Now is not the time to do that. You need to be able to jump Kentucky from the get-go, 21-0 at the first quarter. Something I'm telling you, like, you need to put points on the board. You need to hit Kentucky right in the mouth from the
Hmm.
get-go to be able to show everybody else that this team can maintain that consistency level of play.
Coach, I tell you this, Kyle, I agree with you 100,000%, man. I couldn't have said it better. That is exactly the sentiment that I voice on a daily. We can't afford to have a sleepwalk. And remember, these 11 o'clock funky wonky games, early in the morning type. I told Coach Jay, I don't know what's more difficult, playing on the road at 7 o'clock at night in front of a raucous crowd, or playing on the road at 11 o'clock in the morning in front of a raucous crowd. So I just don't know. So you're right. I couldn't have said it no better. You have to come out, punch Kentucky in the mouth early. Don't let these guys hang around and gain confidence and look up in the fourth quarter and we're only winning by 4, 5, 3, 6. You got to come out, play Bama football, play to your strengths, and dominate this team, because this will be a different type challenge than LSU. LSU's offense is otherworldly. This team is a more slow it down, more hit you in the mouth, run off tackle, physical type team. They don't interchange running backs a lot. They let their running back tote it 20 something times a game. This team will come out and try to be physical with us, so we can't afford to sleepwalk. All facts, what you just said. Oh, and shout out to Al Sanders and George Johnson. Roll Tide to you guys, and we appreciate you.
And I guess I keep saying schedule is strength, but it's strength to schedule. Potato, potato. I mean, we know
exactly.
So,
yeah, we know.
The point is Alabama needs to come out and do their job. I want to point out these are the games that we got going on this weekend, and I want to talk to Coach about a couple more things but before we move on. So when you look to the big picture, and just to bring this graphic up again, let me zoom in tight so we can get this going on. You see that all the teams within the top 8 right now are favorites. So you have Ohio State. Let's start at the top left, taking on Michigan State. They're a 31.5 point favorite. You have Georgia taking on Ole Miss, 10.5 point favorite. Then you have Michigan, and there's a lot of stuff going on right now with Michigan. And I know if you're watching Heather Denich, they're talking about some stuff transpiring with Michigan going into this game against Penn State. People are talking like a 3-game suspension. It's crazy. And the craziest thing is the Michigan AD, he's on the playoff selection committee. So it's like, I talked to that yesterday. You have Florida State, who is a 14-point favorite over Miami. You have Washington, who is a 9.5 point favorite against Utah. Utah's AD is also on that playoff selection committee. And so far, Utah has only really seen Oregon. Oregon 8-1 takes on USC. That's a large point spread for that game. And I think Caleb Williams, especially everything that surrounded him and kind of the emotion that he showed in that last game, look, dude, you have another opportunity to go out there and play with your brothers against a really good Oregon team. You could shock the world. Texas taking on TCU. I'm not sure if TCU has ever beaten Texas, but they are a 10-point favorite on the road in Fort Worth. And then Alabama on the road taking on Kentucky, 11-point favorite. What's your kind of overview right here, Coach? What are we watching when we look to the Big 8?
For me, I think Georgia may possibly have the worst end for the next 2 games at least. Other than anyone on that schedule. I know we talked about Georgia's front end of the schedule, how bad it was, and truth be told, it was. It's not very great. They penalize Georgia, but they don't penalize Michigan. When you look at it, I'm not even sure that Penn State, I'm not high on Penn State like everybody else is. So I think Michigan has a very easy road to their final game, their only game on the schedule. You know what I mean? Georgia has to play Ole Miss. Ole Miss is going to try to run 90 plays on these guys. So Georgia has a rough go at it. Ohio State, I think they're in a similar boat as Michigan. They've been challenged early, but they won't be challenged again until they play Michigan. These guys have a 1-game schedule from here on out. You look at Washington, Oregon, Texas. I think Texas wins out. Me and the coaches were talking about it. I don't think Texas is going to lose another game. I don't. Just me personally. Oregon, these guys have had a soft schedule from jump. They did beat Utah. I give them that. But everybody else was either 500 or worse on their schedule. I mean, they beat Utah, Texas Tech, played them well. These guys are ranked in front of Alabama. I agree that Texas should be ranked in front of us if the head-to-head matters. But to me, when I look at this schedule, Georgia has the roughest go at it, and Ohio State and Michigan have the easiest go at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think so. I mean, this game for Georgia taking on Ole Miss has a lot of implications. Clearly, it impacts Alabama and what they're going to do going forward. Can you imagine if Georgia, and what I was thinking about is if Georgia's able to beat Ole Miss, I 1,000,000% think they should be ranked number 1, right?
I think they will.
Right, you got to jump. You got to put them up because where Ole Miss is right behind Alabama at 9. This is a good Ole Miss team, and Lane Kiffin right now with what he did yesterday on social media and kind of all that going around. I mean, and I said this yesterday or a couple days ago on my shows. There's a large percentage of people that want Coach Kiffin as the next coach at Alabama. I mean, clearly, I think he would want it, right? Why wouldn't you?
Yes.
And yesterday, the way he handled that with the player and saying that, look, if you can't be accountable, then you can't be on the team. And mental health is clearly a huge deal to him. Him and his staff took classes on that. And I love that. But he's like, look, if you can't be accountable, you can't be here. Right. And everybody was like, you're in the right. He is 100%. And not only in football, in every single line of work. But besides that, that's going to be a tough game for Georgia. But with that said, Georgia now has some reverse rat poison, being that they aren't number 1. Kirby Smart's loving that. Yeah, put Ohio State number 1, 100%. You have the Michigan game. I think that's, all eyes on Michigan. And look, from Jim Harbaugh's perspective, whatever's going on with the allegations and stuff like that, it's still like this team from a coaching standpoint, all those distractions, all that's going on, this team is either going to come together and this is the thing that's dangerous about Michigan is they've played a light schedule. They're healthy. They should be the favorite after this Penn State game against Maryland. Then they take on Ohio State, coin flip game. But I don't think that the NCAA or the Big Ten is going to be able to move quick enough to put implications on Michigan, right? You think
Right.
they're going to settle this by December 7th? Are you
Nah, I
serious?
don't.
No,
Yeah,
it's going to impact next year, right?
exactly.
So, I mean, in terms of, so Michigan still, they just got to win and keep playing. There's no way that anybody is going to be able to move quick enough to be able to do anything to Michigan. I mean,
Exactly. I'm
100%.
not even, we talked about this on the show as well. It's like I get so tired of hearing about it because every day it's on every sports channel. It's all over ESPN. It's all in the social media world. These guys are not going to do anything to Michigan this year. So I would, me personally, I wish they just move on, get off of it until I keep hearing we don't have all the facts, this, that,
Mhm.
and the third. So just move on
Yeah.
until you have the facts.
Yeah.
Can I address one thing, Kyle? It was a great comment. David Kendall said TCU has beaten Texas 8 times out of the past 11 years. And David, I appreciate that. That's true, but I'm not an analytics guy at all. I'm the guy, I'm the stat breaker, history breaker. I don't think that means a thing for this Texas team. This Texas team has a very, very good defense. You see it save them even without their starting quarterback. I don't think Texas faces another team. TCU's a great team when you play them at home and it's a rivalry type game, right? But I just don't see Texas losing. If they do, I'll be up in arms and ecstatically happy. But I just don't see it, man. If they do lose, I think it will be in their conference championship game.
Here with Coach as we talk about Alabama football and really Coach Saban's run this year. I mean, it's really been amazing to see what this team has done under Coach Saban. Really a great job by Saban every single year, but this year in particularly, considering the storylines of this season and how everybody was ready to throw this team away, and you start to see the interest come back. I mean, I see it on the analytics with the shows and stuff like that. It's like, oh, this Alabama team can still make it. I honestly think that Alabama is going to win the national title. I serious. If they get in, there's nobody else is going to beat Alabama. I promise you. As soon as they unleash Jalen Milroe in that last game, that's it. So plus 800 for Alabama, you take that all day long, 100%. I mean, they just got to find a way to get into the actual playoffs. But there's no one in college football that wants to deal with this team. There's too much parity, and no one can deal with Jalen Milroe. I mean, I said it yesterday. 1,000,000%. This team is too hot. They're too focused. That loss, yeah, it's penalizing them overall, and that was a tough loss to Texas. But overall, that team made this team what it is today. Nobody is messing with Alabama. Nobody's going to beat this team going forward, I promise you. Okay, so we talked about the schedule and Milroe's recent play. Talked about that yesterday. Coach, let's talk about Milroe's play and just kind of the transformation of him as a player and what he was able to do against LSU. We finally saw it, and everybody wanted to see Jalen Milroe take over a game, just run and use his legs to do that. But I think this was also by Saban's plan, is that he wanted this offense to find its identity, to be able to have a deep ball, to be able to work on that intermediate passing game, other players to step up, key players in the fold, mix things up, allow Tommy Rees to get under his feet rather than just, rely on Jalen Milroe in a gauntlet of a schedule, gauntlet of a season. He did what he had to do against LSU. It was an amazing performance in the sense that he just completely took over the game, 4 rushing touchdowns. What is your take on his recent play? And I mean, do you agree? Do you disagree with me in terms of, he's the most dangerous player in college football?
I agree with you that Jalen can be if he comes out and the coaches use him in the fashion that is his comfort zone. Now I know I'm of the mindset, and in my opinion, I don't think we'll be able to play every team that way. But I think if you use Jalen Milroe to where he's comfortable, I think it's just like you said. I think the sky's the limit for this kid. And I really see now, I think Coach Saban, in my opinion, he was trying to get through that bye week. We had so many games back to back to back to back to back. You have a bye week, let the kid rest up, come out, had his little sleeve on his arm and leg, So I think the bye week, really, he wanted to get through that thing and let Jalen be Jalen for this next home stretch of games. We have 3 games remaining that's going to define this season. And really, get us to where we all want to go. So I think right now you're going to see the best of Jalen Milroe, and I would agree with you 100%. This kid has the potential to be exceptionally dangerous. For me, it's never been about Jalen, though. It's always been about the entire offense as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Does the offensive line block for Jalen? Does Jalen make the right decisions? Does
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Reese call the right play on the right third and long, the money down?
Mm-hmm.
All these things came together against LSU in one game. And that's what I'm looking to see again. Like we said, that is what I'm looking to see. I want to see Jalen be Jalen on Saturday, no playing around. Let's go in and do what we do. And then they'll have no choice but to talk about us. Dexter Wright said something very, very key. He said that it's a lot of forces against Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. I do believe within the inner workings of college football, you have a lot of people that are what's the term we use? Bama fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe there's people out there that don't want to see Alabama back again. So
Mm-hmm.
we got to go out and take care of our business from henceforth and not leave it to anyone else. But I agree with you 100% on Jalen Milroe. It's his time.
Coach, we want to talk before we talk about these sophomores' dominant defense. And I know there was an injury report that has been posted that you're going to be missing Deontay Lawson and Jalen Key from the defense going into this weekend. But overall, this defense under Kevin Steele has been fantastic. And you know what they say about defense, it wins championships. And this defense has been consistent. If you look to the entire scope of Alabama, it hasn't, there's been inconsistencies. That's been part of this team's identity. But the defense has always been consistent, at least through the last, since Alabama has started winning, they've been consistent, right? We've seen that from the defense again and again. The freshman All-American Caleb Downs has been phenomenal. Dallas Turner is playing like the Dallas Turner that we all wanted him to. The inside linebacker play has been great. Justin Mbogbe, he's been just a man on fire. He had a huge game, against, these last couple of weeks. Talk about this defense, what you liked about it, because it's really been impressive to see them come together and, be the strength of this team.
Defense travels. So to see our defense, and especially, and Coach Smoot gets on us when we say his name. I won't use a player's name. This player's moved on, done better, bigger things. To see us not be soft in the middle, to see us actually have linebackers that punish the linemen when they're trying to run block for them, to see us have linebackers that feel, that word feel, confidently and competently. To see us have linebacker play like we've had this year, man, it's absolutely amazing to see, considering what we've had the last 2 years.
Yeah.
This defense as a whole, I'm so ecstatic about the secondary to see we have two corners again who both are ballers. You're not just going to line. If LSU can't line up and just do us dirty like that, who can? Who can, right? The defense, I'm not worried about the defense at all. I'm not. I knew we were going to give up some players against LSU because that's just what it is. That team on offense is that good. So I'm not worried about anybody else. Oregon sort of concerns me on offense because they have a veteran quarterback. I mean, for God's sakes, I seen a picture. I had forgot Bo Nix had been playing that long. I seen a picture with him hugging Justin Herbert.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert been in the pros 3-4 years. So it's like, this dude's still playing at Auburn. So I don't like playing teams with veteran quarterbacks because these guys are very hard in college football. Veteran quarterbacks are very, very difficult to fool, with coverages and things. But this defense is the absolute. If I got 99 problems, this defense is not one of them. I'm ecstatic and elated for this defense. If our offense just comes out and plays consistent to complement our defense, we will be something to deal with in the CFP.
Let's look at this defense real quick here. The defensive statistics for this team throughout this season. And as you can see, the freshman up top, Caleb Downs, with 76 total tackles and 2 timely interceptions. You also have Deontay Lawson, who's a sophomore. We're going to talk about the sophomores next with Coach. He has 52 tackles. He'll be out this weekend against Kentucky. Look for Jahad Campbell, who's also a sophomore, to be starting along with Trez Marshall, the transfer in from Georgia. You also have Jalen Key, who will be out this weekend at the safety spot. He has 46 tackles on the season with 1 interception. Justin Ebogbe, who's played in a ton of games now at Alabama, I think over 50 games. He has 28 tackles. That's good to see from one of the guys inside the trenches. Terran Arnold, who's also a sophomore, has 45 tackles, 2 interceptions, and 8 pass breakups this season. Jahad Campbell, who's also a sophomore, 42 tackles this season. Trez Marshall, who's he's a senior, 41 tackles. Dallas Turner, 38 tackles. So as you can see, kind of that snapshot of the defense, this has been a defense that has a lot of playmakers, a lot of guys doing a great job. And I think my favorite thing about the defense is the fact that they're just absolutely complete. Thanks, Al Sanders, for the super chat. We are playing Joyless Murder Ball, Coach Sean. Yeah. So, I mean, and I've kind of thought about that as well. And Al, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for the super chat. It's like,
thank you, Al.
That joyless murder ball. So let's talk about that just real quick before we talk about the sophomores. Because I was thinking, like, before I started covering Alabama and before the offensive coordinator was Brian DeBall, and before they started developing all these quarterbacks, the joyless murder ball to me was Alabama just kind of a 3-yard, 4-yard cloud of dust, and then a big run by the running backs, and they would kind of get you like a python, and they would win 31-7 because the defense is so dominant. And was like, okay, you would kind of get sleepy by the third and the fourth quarter. Well, I think that it's changed to like this, to a different style of murder ball with Alabama scoring so many points and putting points on the board and kind of the offensive dynamics going into it. So I appreciate the super chat, and then High Power TV with another super chat. I understand how it's important second half adjustments are, but it's hard or somewhat tricky to make situational adjustments, possession adjustments. What's your take on that, Coach?
Well, it all depends on what team you're talking. We'll just take, let's just say LSU. If you're talking about possession adjustments for Jalen Milroe, every time you've seen him on that phone up there, you can believe Tommy Rees was giving him details of something he's seen from the booth or wherever he's coaching from. Situational adjustments is something the players will talk about amongst themselves on the sideline. Halftime is really where the coaches sit down with their positions and go over things that will really help the entire second half. The situational adjustments and the possession adjustments are things that are talked about on the sideline while the game is going on. Those things happen from series to series with your position coaches and your coordinators up in the booth.
All right, Coach, I want to now showcase this because I've been waiting to go over it, is the sophomores. And I asked you to look at this. I don't know if did you have time, Coach, to look at some sophomores real quick?
Yeah, I mean, I know them by heart. I didn't really have to look at too much.
Okay, all right, because I put this graphic together. I tweeted it out, and I missed Jaheim Otis on here. So I'm about to show you guys the graphic right here. But look at all these sophomores. You guys ready for this? Splash. All right. All right, let's start on the left. The offense, this is crazy. Okay, so the star indicates a key contributor. Okay, so key contributor, I guess you could say, is up for debate. But for the most part, I try to do my best with guys who have, seen significant playing time, who we've talked about, whatever. Amari Niblack, he's a sophomore. Emmanuel Henderson, he's been hurt with a hip injury. Haven't seen him yet, but I know he's going to be a ball. I saw him on the sidelines catching some passes. Man, he looks so good. And he had a really good fall camp before he got injured. And I think Emmanuel Henderson, good things are coming from him. Isaiah Bond, Jaden Roberts, Jalen Milroe, James Brockemeyer. Haven't seen him yet, but I think he could be. He could make a run for off. I don't know if he'll make a run, but he's like second or third at center. I don't know. If he hasn't played by now, who knows? Jam Miller is also a sophomore. Kendrick Law, Kobe Prentice. So when Coach Saban was saying, "Hey, look, Aaron Anderson, you'd play more if you were here," I don't know, like, Coach, because these guys are ballers with your sophomores.
Hey, remember this. Aaron was ahead of some of those guys at A-Day that year. Aaron, he got hurt. I think he hurt his knee or something, and he fell on the depth chart, and I think that contributed to him leaving. But Aaron was playing. He was in there.
TJ Ferguson, offensive lineman. We saw him early on in the season, played a good amount of snaps, but some other guys have jumped him. Tyler Buckner is also a redshirt sophomore. Who knows what's going to happen with him? I would assume that he's one of those guys that you start to look to organizational pieces that kind of move elsewhere. I would think that maybe this isn't the best fit for him. Clearly, especially with the quarterbacks that you have coming in. I mean, those are just facts. I mean, it's not nothing against the kid. I mean, you got Dylan Lonergan, you have Ty Simpson, you have Julian Sain coming in. I mean, where are you going to fit at? You want to play. On the defensive side, Anquin Barnes, Damon Payne, I think those guys are going to see them eventually. I think we've seen Damon Payne spot play a little bit, maybe even same with Barnes. I'd have to check on the detail on that. Deontay Lawson, absolute, could be an All-American. He's been banged up. I mean, maybe that ankle injury is, it seems to be hampering him a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't come back, Deontay Lawson, until the Auburn game. Or even you know what I'm saying? Like, check the health on him. Let that guy get with the athletic staff and get him 100%. Ian Jackson, Jaheim Otis, only a sophomore. Jahad Campbell, only a sophomore. Keanu Coot, that guy's going to be a baller. Monkel Goodwine, Terran Arnold. That's going to be interesting. I would think you got to think Terran Arnold comes back, right, Coach?
Yes, definitely. I think. Do you have Shaz Preston on there?
Is he a sophomore too?
Yeah, he's a sophomore. I think Isaiah Hastings, defensive lineman, he's a sophomore as well.
Okay.
Sean Murphy, he's a sophomore as well. They all came in the same class.
Oh, you know what? Those are red. So right now I'm looking at Shaz Preston. And it says redshirt freshman.
So he got redshirted. Okay, that's an even better thing. That means he'll be here longer. Yeah. Great.
And then
they were in that same class.
But Terran, I'm with you, Coach. I think he has to come back. And look, he's had a great year, and he's done a lot of great things. And him and Jalen, that's a great combo. But you look at a guy like that. Imagine how much he increases himself coming back for one more year. I mean, this guy. Think about the transformation for him personally. There's a lot of people that wanted Trey Amos to start over him. They're like, he's a liability. No, this guy has played it at an extremely high level. He can make some money for sure. He get drafted 100%. But you're talking a huge difference in money if he stays one more year, right?
If Terrion Arnold comes back to college, Terrion Arnold would be the best corner in college football and probably a top 10 pick. If he comes back to school, this kid has the potential to he'll win every defensive award there is available. I know Minka played a different position in the latter part of his career, but he'll be the equivalent of Minka Fitzpatrick at that corner spot. Terrion, the experience that kid has got and the confidence that he plays with, if that kid comes back to school, the sky is the limit for that young man. You better believe that. You're 100% right, Kyle.
Yeah, I mean, this whole board is crazy. I mean, all these sophomores. I mean, we and then of course, I mean, start to look at the freshmen and stuff like that. It's crazy. That's why I'm saying, like, Saban is about, like, the run is started. The run started, and we're still in it. I mean, the guy's still laser focused. I mean, it's just for the people, and I bring that up is just because there were so many people that were ready to jump off the ship after one loss. Yeah. This team had to be rebuilt. There was a new quarterback replacing the number one pick in the NFL draft. You had some pieces that were returning on defense, but you have a new defensive coordinator. People didn't like the fact that Kevin Steele, was a little bit older. They didn't like the fact that Tommy Reese wasn't Alabama's first choice, and I still don't think it was. I think it was the OC for Washington.
Right? Yeah.
And you see what he's been able to do, and why wouldn't he want to stay? He knew what he had at quarterback with Washington. It's like okay, Jalen Miro has everything that you want, but Penix is like, he's out the gates. So I get it,
he's older. He's much older than Jalen Milroe.
Yeah. So I mean, and that's the other thing about this season. I think it's been fun for Coach Saban to continue to build up these guys. He's done so much coaching. I'm sure he's just been loving it. And it was funny, just recently, I guess, on Pat McAfee yesterday, that it was with Miss Terry, was talking about Auburn already. And he was like, that's rat poison. He's like, you can't be talking about Auburn. He's like, Kentucky is challenge more. I mean, that's going to be a challenging game on Saturday.
It is. It is. Don't overlook them. I'm telling you, don't overlook them.
Yeah. Well, Coach, I appreciate you joining me this fine Friday. And before we end the show, it's we're celebrating the Veterans Day and the Veterans Day weekend. You have a veteran in your family, and inside the comment box, if you guys want to shout out a veteran, we'll take a few minutes to kind of post their name up on side the comment box. Coach, do you have someone who served
Yeah.
in the past, who's in the military right now, that you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yes, I want to give a shout out to my college teammate, my best friend in the world. His name is Kelvin Wyndham.
Okay.
He's a sergeant major.
Yeah.
He's actually here in Huntsville on Redstone Arsenal.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give out to my brother who I see every day. My brother who I work with, Anthony Riggins.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to all their units. Shout out to the 88 Mikes. Shout
Yep.
out to all these guys, man, who serve. Shout out to all my family members, Quinte, Jonathan, who all served. Shout out to all the men and women out there who've served and protect this country, man. You guys are the real heroes. I appreciate you more than I know. I couldn't do what you do. I was fortunate enough to be good in this old sport that we're talking about right now to help pay for my education. You guys are the reason why I get an opportunity to sit here freely in my own home.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Roll Tide to you. God bless you all.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, sometimes you tend to forget, like freedom isn't free, and it's great to live in this country. And we'll read some shout outs right now for you guys. You got Jonathan with my uncle Billy Hurst. Thank you very much. Civilian salute from me to Billy Hurst. Al Sanders, a great caller, says, my dad, my hero, A.D. Sanders. Dexter Wright says, happy Veterans Day to all. Appreciate you guys. Ben Allen, Jack Allen, that's the Marine Corps. Absolutely salute. Hoorah. And then you have Jeff, my friend, who just retired after 26 years. That's really incredible. David, Sergeant Major, who can pretty much override in general. Dexter Wright, thanks again. And then Chad is saying, both my grandfathers, Doug Howard and Earl Patton. Wow, that's amazing. Tommy, you said it was he was also in the military as well. And then who do we got? We got Steven in here. My father got hurt in Vietnam and lost 6 cousins over the wow, just amazing. Yeah, absolutely. I have my Cesar Urrutia. He's an E7 in the National Guard. He's been doing a great job. He's moving on up. Man, I don't even think he's like 34, 35 years old. So kind of to see the course of, some of your loved ones that are in the military, it's really amazing. We appreciate you guys also. Thank you very much for everything that you do for this great country. And happy Veterans Day. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day. Maybe getting a little barbecue and watching some college football on this weekend, because the college football season continues to heat up. Coach Sean, I really appreciate you joining us today on Friday. You add so much context to the show. Have such great respect for you, Coach Jarek and Coach Smook, and I really appreciate you guys linking up this season, because you guys are doing a really good job. And I love that you guys are authentic. I love the delivery and the passion and the knowledge overall. So thank you very much. And we really appreciate you guys watching. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe. Stay tuned for more coverage coming your way right here on Bama Football on YouTube.
Roll Tide, and I thank you guys.